But now you're going, you're on the way. You've only got a few hours left, so we can be entirely honest and frank. Banks are bastards, aren't they?
Well, I mean, first of all, I'd like to say I've appreciated the opportunity to come in here and talk to you, Neil, because one of the things I've hoped to do is sort of at least demystify some of the perspectives. And look, I would acknowledge that a lot of your listeners would probably feel that way. And I think we've, as an industry, have done I'm very proud at NAB, has done quite a lot in terms of trying to improve its relationship with customers. We've got a long way to go. And I think, banks have to improve their reputation.
How do you do it?
Well,
Listen, talk.
I think, but all of those things, I think it's one of the reasons I've been keen and appreciative of the opportunity to come in here. I mean, 5 years ago this week, NAB was the first to sort of abolish a whole range of fees, and we've had a very competitive interest rate. In fact, the lowest interest rate of the big banks for over nearly 5 years. So we've got to do more of that. But I think, the real challenge for us is that we have a great banking system, and I've just been overseas the last couple of weeks looking at some issues around the world, and I don't think banks have done enough in sort of explaining that there are a lot of benefits, and I think the issue of profits is one where we still haven't really got a message across to customers that 75 or 80% of our profits goes back to superannuation funds and those sort of things, and we've got to do a better job at explaining how banks work.
$5.5 billion last year, wasn't it?
That's right, and in our case, 75% of that went to shareholders. In fact, obviously you get a lot of complaint letters. You get the odd compliment letter in this job as well, but amongst those, I get a lot of letters, particularly from pensioners. I mean, National Australia Bank's got 440,000 mums and dads who actually rely on the dividend, for their pension. So they're always concerned sometimes when they're saying, look, we need that dividend, and we're worried that it won't be coming.
Do fees still need to come down? Are the fees still excessive?
Well, it depends on the nature of the fee. What we did,
That's my point, though. Generally, several banks have addressed them. You're quite right, but is there still more to be done to reduce fees?
Well, I think you've got to continue to, hear from customers. In many cases, those fees, I'd argue, are justified in some respects. But the fees we felt, weren't justified. And it wasn't to say the fees were illegal. We just felt that they were creating the wrong, impression of our customers, and we were the first to move. And in fact, by us moving, other banks moved. Now, they haven't moved as much as us. But I think we have to be receptive to customers' views, and if we do think a fee's valid, we've got to explain why.
So is there more to do or not?
Look, I think, you never close that, you never say it's done, and I think, and look, as technology moves, and obviously we've got a big technology change tomorrow with PIN becoming mandatory.
Yeah, my signature goes the way of you tomorrow, and it turns into a pumpkin. I've got to use a PIN.
You do, and that's actually a good outcome because it will be a much more secure system, and we don't want fraud, and fraud's on the increase. I mean, it is staggering the degree to which people are trying to, hack into everything, be it banks, be it, a whole range of things. Now, what we're very fortunate is that the banking system in Australia is incredibly secure, and we invest a lot of money to keep it that way, and moving to PINs is going to be good. But I think as technology comes, I think that's a great opportunity to look at fees as people move to sort of mobile and digital banking.
Police say the pay wave is not good. It's a threat to security. It's a threat for theft. Is PayWave with us to stay?
It is, because it's incredibly popular. I mean, Australians, in most respects, are one of the biggest adapters of technology. They take technology up very, very quickly, and our customers really value it. Obviously, it's limited to $100, so that's obviously some security. We heard the comments from the police, and we, as an industry, have been meeting with police to understand their concerns, but I think it's here to stay because people really like it and it's convenient.
How important is it to get the budget through? We've got Clive Palmer saying today the government needs either a mini budget or a double dissolution. What do you think?
Well, it's certainly having an impact on confidence, and I think, as I talk to customers, and particularly small business customers, and we're a big banker to small business, their confidence is rattled. I mean, they were waiting for a change of government, then they were waiting for Christmas, then they were waiting for the budget, and I think we put a business confidence survey out this week, and confidence is struggling. And I think whether you agree with the budget or not, I guess people like certainty, and people don't want to make big investments in an uncertain environment. So I think it'd be good to get at least the budget behind us. Whether how you do that, I don't know, but at the moment it's hanging over people.
What is the key issue, do you think, facing the country? I mean, is it this budget uncertainty? Is it the welfare bill? What is it?
Look, I think, I've said I don't think we have a budget emergency at the moment, but we have a long-term structural problem, and it's no different to many other developed nations, and we have a population that's ageing. And that's the challenge we've got to deal with. We're living longer. That creates all sorts of complications in terms of the number of people who are in work, paying tax to support it. And as we live longer, we're actually living with greater health costs because, people are living longer, their dementia is rising, and those sort of things which have big impacts on the health budget. So we have to, in some way, deal with that. But we don't have an immediate emergency, but we do have some long-term structural challenges.
Can we afford Tony Abbott's paid parental leave scheme?
Well, no. And I'm not opposed. I mean, the natural reaction of people would say, well, I don't want to pay, as a big business, another 1.5% leave. It'll cost National Australia Bank $100 million. Now, your question will be, will that go to interest rates or fees? Well, I don't know, but it's $100 million. The reason that I don't like it is not that I have to pay $100 million. It won't actually increase participation in the workforce. The overwhelming feedback I get from and we've got a big workforce here in Australia, 28,000, is the biggest barrier to women re-entering the workforce is childcare. So if I could spend that $100 million on childcare as opposed to a paid parental leave scheme, that would be far more productive. That's what the Productivity Commission says, and quite frankly, that's what just about everyone's saying. But, I think it's here to stay.
Yes, he was tied into it again this morning when I asked him, you've been in the Middle East, feel dangerous, feel nervous there?
Look, I was there. I came back a week and a half ago. I took a delegation of Australian companies, both large and small, because Israel is one of the world leaders in cybersecurity. And, it's something we're very interested in as a bank. A lot of other companies are interested in it to make sure that as more people are using mobiles and things, not just for banking, but for all sorts of things, that we want to see that security. And a lot of that has come out of their defence industry.
Is Clive Palmer damaging Australia?
Look, it's interesting. I left Israel and I went to the US to talk to a whole range of big stakeholders, and it was interesting that a fair bit of time had to be spent explaining who he is, where really what you want to be talking about when you're overseas. And look, I've always taken the view that when I'm overseas, your job is to sell Australia. It's a great place to invest. You should be trading with us, and therefore you sell, the positive stability of the government and everything else. It's not helpful to be spending a lot of time explaining who he is and what he's doing. And quite frankly, he's not always consistent. So it's different. I mean, there's nothing wrong with minority parties. They're part of the equation. But generally, if you look at a range of the other crossbenchers, they're consistent in what their views are. Whereas I think the challenge with the Palmer party is they're often changing their mind, and that's difficult to explain to overseas people. But I don't think it's damaging our reputation, but it's not helpful.